This year, really a series of records have been broken, many of them this winter here in Europe, in fact, for the sheer amount of rain that has fallen. Whole communities left devastated as the waters took over. Elsewhere in the world, though, the reverse is the case. California, for example, is in its third year of a drought that may well turn out to be its worst ever. Much of the land deprived of snow, meaning spring will leave the ground dry, where there's nothing to melt. As France 24's correspondents have discovered, it means farmers are selling cows they cannot afford to keep and leaving 500,000 acres of cropland idle.
Hundreds of cows are walking uphill towards a mountain. It will take them 4 days to get there.
We're driving our cows up the mountain to summer pastures where there's more green grass.
Californian cattlemen are forcing this migration. Why? There's been no rain, and therefore no grass for their cattle to feed on. It's the result of California's devastating drought.
This is the worst I have ever seen. 2013, I've been at it my whole life. I'm 55 years old. The cows are thin, probably 100 to 200 pounds weight, less than what they normally would be at this time.
To protect their cows' health and avoid going bankrupt, many ranchers have no choice but to sell their cattle. Livestock auctions like this one are very well attended this year, which is helping keep this old-fashioned cowboy tradition alive. Here, the drought makes for good business. Beth, the organizer of this auction, says today there are more than 1,000 heads of cattle for sale.
These cattle are already sold, and then what's left over there, everything will be sold today. We're probably selling 5 to 6 times more cattle per week than we normally would this time of year.
There are buyers from Oregon, Colorado, and Texas here. They've come to buy beef-range cattle from disillusioned ranchers such as Kim Oviatt. He has sold 300 cows, the majority of his herd.
Our worst drought prior to this was 35 years ago. And not as bad as this. We've never had to take these dramatic measures of selling like this before. I've been working on this cow herd for over 40 years of genetics, and having to sell them is very difficult.
Kim takes us to his ranch to show us the impact of the drought.
Look at that. I ought to have mud on my boots, not dust.
With no grass, Kim had to buy hay to feed his cows. The drought makes it a rare and expensive commodity.
We've been buying hay, well, all season long, effectively. And normally, of course, we're not buying any hay at this time of year. As a result, everybody's trying to buy hay. Hay is a precious commodity and very expensive.
If the drought continues, Kim will have to sell all of his cows and change jobs. And the situation is getting worse. Climatologists say the coming summer will be historically dry.
This should be seen in the context of a very long-term drought that we're experiencing here in the Southwest. That is much more consistent with what we expect from climate warming due to increased greenhouse gases. And this has probably been about the worst one we've had in maybe 5.
No, I'm sorry, we seem to lose that report in the middle there. We'll bring it back to you later if we possibly can. Now then, let's move on to sport. Despite a slump in form, Arsenal's Arsene Wenger still optimistic for the Champions League. Here is the